At certain moments, Attack on Titan doesn't quite feel like your run-of-the-mill shonen. While watching the series and wrapping up season 2, I couldn't help but notice its style. After much thought, I concluded that one of the biggest factors to my enjoyment of Attack on Titan is the horror aspect. These scenes are designed to terrify, surprise, suspend disbelief, and leave you in this dread. Part of how horror works requires that you have some preconceived notion, the fictional worlds, and I would argue even genre conventions. If you want to understand how horror genre violates our expectations, look no further than Jason Colavito's work, Knowing Fear, Science Knowledge, and the Development of Horror Genre. In it, he posits that the monsters of horror can take many shapes. They can symbolize many things, but one constant remains across time, from the earliest horror stories to the most recent. Knowledge, whether forbidden or achieved, is the primal source of horror. Hajime Isayama understands horror, not only through his illustrations, but how to keep us at the edge of our seats. He's built a fascinating world with rules we can relate, but pushes the unbelievability of ideas with concepts that crafts a great horror scene. When a horror scene is successfully executed, that's where we begin to have a fascination and eagerness to discover more about the unsettling premise. There are many scenes to pull from, but let's call attention to one moment that started it all. The first episode, titled To You in 2000 Years, Follow Shiganshina, Part 1. The scene uses 3 horror techniques proposed by Glenn D. Walters understanding the popular appeal of horror cinema. The first of the 3 techniques is tension, and you get that here when Eren searches for his mom, crafted from his perspective. The urgency grows narrow to make us feel claustrophobic. Many would agree that shock value is Attack on Titan's biggest appeal. I would argue it's the tension that leads up to this climactic scene that sells the series. The second idea proposed by Walters is that of relevance, which is aspects that we latch onto. In this scene, relevance is protagonist's motivations, a home, society, and family. The third is unrealism, and this is where Isayama excels. Unrealism are the Titans and their invasion. Isayama has put Titans in our most private and intimate settings, clashing unrealism and relevance together using a glue that is tension. Horror is perhaps most well known for the jump scares and absolute fright of the moment. While yes, that can be true, horror is most effective when it keeps you at a creeping, uneasy, anxious state. The creeping uneasiness is also part of Isayama's visual charm. He once said he's more interested in the bizarre and strange rather than the horror that jumps at you. Titans visually embody the very idea of what is bizarre and strange. In the case of Titans, they look like us, but they're not proportionally right. They move like us, but they stumble and contort. Their facial expressions don't feel right in a given situation. This visual fear goes far back in our psychology. In a study carried out by Andy Field, he found that babies tend to be scared of anything strange in their environment. And it's that deep-rooted survival instinct to identify danger that triggers when we see the Titans, similar to us but different to disturb. Isayama delivers a thematic element, predation, into the forefront of Attack on Titan. Predation is a term used to describe biological interaction between predator and prey, and it's this simple primal instinct where horror can come from. Colavito explained that fear is an evolutionary advantage that we developed, as every animal experiences fear since it is a useful instinct to avoid predators, keeping out of danger, and humans have the imagination to visualize fears. Studies from researchers such as Nobuo Masataka and Christoph Koch have reinforced this notion that we're more afraid of animals than other people, which explains why alien or people with animal-like traits terrify us. Horror is a way to engage us, a storytelling device to share a brand new world with us. In a TED Talk with Kate Mesner on how to build a fictional world, she asked what fundamentally motivates society's state of mind, government, their relationships, and values. For Attack on Titan, the reason for everything that is and will be are the Titans and the fear they represent. Most people can agree that Titans have parallels with zombies, akin to Walking Dead and the 1954 Godzilla. The appeal to both of these is that they are not just apocalyptic in nature. I'd say they tap into feelings of hopelessness and what humanity does in the face of it. They're allegories for natural destruction, like a typhoon or hurricane raging across the city. And I think this explains why we have such a fascination in concepts in films such as San Andreas or 2012. Horror stories leave an ambiguous ending to either shock us or leave us in silent thought, lost in thought, to imagine those deepest fears. When I think about my favorite stories directed in the style of horror, such as Lord of the Rings, Harry Potter, or Game of Thrones, I love how the answers aren't always in front of you initially. and for a good length of the story. Isayama's Attack on Titan has its own brand of horror and suspense, an example of how to build an interesting world around those underlying aspects. If there was anything aspiring writers and creators can take away from Attack on Titan, it'd be this. If you want to engage and keep us on the edge of our seats, why not include a bit of horror? Hey everyone, John here. This video took me a while to get out, so thank you all for waiting. I can only imagine how polarizing this analysis of Attack on Titan would be because, well, a couple people I know don't see horror as a thing in Attack on Titan, so that may be representative as a general viewpoint. All the more reason to make an analysis. So discuss below, I'll be reading. I'd like to take a minute to thank everyone for the recent sub support this past week. We recently hit over 1,000 subs and I am just so damn excited. A lot of your responses have been amazing and I just wish I could respond to you all more quickly. I work full time on top of doing YouTube, so I'll do my best to get back to you guys. If you have any questions or requests, or if you just want me to analyze anything, feel free to just comment below or you can tweet at me.